of folks already with us. Hi, all. Hope you're doing well. I'm Paige Bradley with Women's Empowerment. So great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today for our second Lunch and Learn with We, the briefing series that we launched last week to bring the work of Women's Empowerment's terrific partners to you directly. Many of you had a chance to join us a couple weeks ago for our call with the Nyaka Grandmothers Program and Jackson Kaguri. And today we're so pleased to have the International Rescue Committee in San Diego here with us and to talk about WE's partnership with the We Star program. We've got Adriana Taboada and soon to have Mitch Johnson, who are the two leaders of the micro enterprise division at the IRC, and we will hear from them shortly. As I mentioned, we launched this series so that you all could hear directly about the women that you support, understand how they have fared through these difficult last 12 months, and understand a little bit more clearly how our partners have done really heroic work to adapt to these new circumstances and continue to work closely with women to keep them safe and empowered and help keep their businesses open and thriving, if at all possible, through this tough time. So this is our second in the series. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing the third with our partner Adelante in Honduras on Wednesday, March 31st, also at 12 noon. So mark your calendars and keep that date in mind. You'll get an announcement and a chance to register for that in the days ahead. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. We're going to first hear from Jane Hoy, WE's liaison to the International Rescue Committee, who's been working closely with us and with them since, I think we said 2015 or so, Jane. Mm-hmm. Jane is a longtime liaison. She has worked closely with the staff at the IRC, also met with many of the clients over the years. She also represents women's empowerment at the Refugee Forum, so she's able to really serve as a vital link between us and so many of the challenges that new Americans face when they come to our community. And I think, in fact, Jane was just on a Refugee Forum call right before signing on with us. So we value Jane's work and the work of all of our liaisons so much so that we as an organization can continue to bring all of you all of the information and the impact data and constantly just keep that close relationship going so that we can be certain that your support is having the greatest impact. So Jane's going to share a little bit of information about the history of our partnership and what it has led to over the years. This partnership dates back to 2006. So in many ways is sort of the flagship partnership of women's empowerment. And we've just been incredibly proud to stand with this remarkable team of people and women for so many years. So thank you all again for being with us. Let's keep our audio on mute. I think all of you are doing that so that we can have kind of an uninterrupted experience. And then when we get toward the last 15 minutes or so of our program, we'd like to have a chance for you to ask questions directly of Adriana. So if you have questions as we go through the program, please just send your questions in the chat and we can pose them to her as we get toward the end of the program. Or the other option will be to use the hand raise feature, which you can see on your screen there under reactions. And then we can call on you and you'll ask your questions directly. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jane and also thank you for your patience with any little Zoom glitches we might experience here. Jane, take it away.
I almost wasn't here. But anyway, hello, everybody. It's good to see you all. And yes, I am Jane Hoy, the liaison to the Women's Empowerment IRC STAR program. I have been the liaison for almost 7 years, having been introduced to women's empowerment by Jean Fort, a longtime board member after I moved here from Michigan. The We IRC partnership for the We IRC STAR program started in 2006 and is WE's second and longest running partnership. The International Refugee Committee otherwise known as the IRC, is one of the major nonprofit organizations serving refugees in the United States, and the IRC here in San Diego welcomed this partnership to address the low participation rate of women in their micro enterprise program. San Diego has long welcomed the largest groups of refugees, helping them settle in the United States. The IRC has 2 offices here in San Diego, one in City Heights and the other in El Cajon. The STAR program initials stand for Support, Training, and Assistance to Refugee Women. The program is a business incubator which provides hands-on technical support, business training, and access to microfinance loans in a culturally sensitive setting. This enables refugees and low-income women to start their own businesses or build sustainable businesses such as childcare, retail, food or baking businesses, as well as other types of endeavors, so women can feel fulfilled and successful on their own, thereby also eliminating dependence on public assistance. It's wonderful to see that the IRC has recently hired several additional women staff to directly support the clients of We Star and to increasingly recognize the additional barriers and risks that these women and girls face among the populations they serve. This has resulted in a real effort to develop gender equity programming throughout all of their departments. In addition, program staff has done a remarkable job with integrated, holistic wraparound services, especially during this COVID-19 period, to address the significant additional barriers faced by women entrepreneurs. Since its inception in 2006 through December 2020, this program has served over 1,745 low-income and refugee immigrant entrepreneurs in the San Diego County. We're glad you're here, and I'm always happy to see Adriana and Mitch.
Myself. Thank you, Jane, so much. We do have Adriana and Mitch with us here today. Adriana is the director of the IRC's Small Business Development Center, and Mitch is the Economic Empowerment Director. And I can very easily say that in nearly my 5th year here now with Women's Empowerment, and this is by far the absolute strongest team we've seen leading the micro enterprise services and the team over there. Their versatility and dedication and innovative diehard work style is fantastic. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce them and let them share a little bit more about the program, and I'll share some slides with you as we go along.
Great. Thank you so much, Paige, and thank you so much, Jane. And of course, thank you everybody at We. It's always a pleasure to see you again and to be in contact with you. And again, thank you so much for that introduction. I can honestly say that one of the reasons why we've been able to continue to sustain this program is again because of We support and because of how involved your board is as well. As you saw at every event we had, we've seen Jane, Paige, and different We members to show up and continue to support our clients. And also your flexibility and understanding of how the context changes and how we've been able to adapt with your support in order to serve the needs of our clients, especially during these very difficult times. So without going further, I wanted to give an opportunity to Mitch to also introduce himself and share a little bit more about our partnership with We.
Thank you, Adriana. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Yeah, I mean, just to echo what Adriana said, you know, We has been such a valued and long-term partner and has really fostered the development of our micro enterprise and small business development center. Without those funds and the support of We over this 15 years or so, we've really grown a lot. I know that Paige, that it was already addressed a little bit, but we were able to serve 1,800 low-income refugee and immigrant women entrepreneurs in San Diego County since 2006, helping strengthen or starting 830 businesses and allowing these women to access almost $1 million in capital, over 200 grants and loans, and that just would not have been done without this valued partnership. This program has allowed IRC to not have to just focus on Office of Refugee Resettlement microenterprise requirements, but really allow us to pivot and tailor our programs to address the specific barriers that our women, refugee and immigrant women entrepreneurs face. Some of them were mentioned: linguistic and cultural appropriate services, lack of formal education, transportation, access to financial capital, and really a lack of familiarity with business customs and regulations in the United States. Equally important, funding has allowed the We Start program to provide access to complementary economic development services, and really to provide more holistic services that address both the business needs, but also the social and emotional wellness of our clients. And thanks to the long-term and ongoing support of We International, IRC's business development team has grown from just 2 business counselors to a team of 10 business counselors, in which 7 are women and 3 have the linguistic capacity to speak 3 of the highest level secondary languages in San Diego County. Lastly, with We Start program as a foundation, the IRC has really been able to make significant advances in embracing and promoting gender equity as an organizational value and commitment. As such, several economic development programs are designated, and a designated women's economic empowerment specialist have been established to more holistically and responsibly address the needs of women identifying clients. And We really has been a catalyst for all of these great gender responsive services happening. And we can't say how appreciative we are of this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. So, and actually, Paige, if we can go back to the previous slide just to share a little bit more, because we also want you to learn from the women we serve, and again, their resiliency and how they've been able to sustain themselves during these times, and also what can you do to support them. So for example, in this case, we're showing a picture of one of our clients, Johnny Essentials. So she's a San Diego US-born woman who actually lost her husband a few years ago, and she had to support her children from one day to another. She has 3 children. So one of the ways that she decided to generate income was to open a small business. So one of our business advisors, who I believe is on the call, Callie Queen, started working with her on setting up a business where she sells handmade items such as candles, lotions, and also provides cosmetology services. So with our assistance, she was able to first formalize her business, make sure that she was able to get all the permits necessary in order for her to be able to sell these products, help being able to market these products online, and being able to develop a marketing plan that would allow her to reach out a larger population. Ashley, who is the owner of Johnny Essentials, has joined a number of events with us in order to be able to expand. So for example, most recently, she participated in a holiday bazaar, for which some of you may have been able to attend, where she was able for the first time to sell these products online. So we continue to support her through, again, helping her market her business, but also accessing some of the capital that she needs in order to be able to sustain her business. She's also joined the IRC Small Business Directory, where again, other IRC and We supporters can go in and access some of our businesses and be able to directly link with some of our clients. And then on the bottom picture, we have our client, Bas Bibi. She's actually from Afghanistan. She's a refugee who came to the IRC in 2017. She actually came with her mother as a teenager, and her mom was the one who started the childcare business. As Jane mentioned, one of the businesses that we support heavily is childcare, because we understand that a lot of the refugee women who come to the US may not necessarily have the language skills to again, go and obtain a job in the formal market. A lot of them have children at home. So they need to, of course, provide for those children. So it is more of a viable way for them to start their business, to generate an income, and to be able to contribute to the household. So a lot of the times they open a childcare center, and we help them from, again, getting their license to passing some of the certificates, and then continue to provide ongoing support for them to be able to continue with their childcare. So in this case, Bibi, for example, she saw her mom, how productive it was. She was doing really well, so she decided to join her mom in her childcare center, and they were able to grow the business from what is called a small license, which allows you to have up to 8 children, to a large license to have 12 children in the home. So they basically became the main provider of income in their family. Bibi also started accessing going to college, making sure she's able to improve her English in order to be able to continue to expand their business. Of course, because of COVID, we know that their business has been impacted, right? Many of you know that a lot of childcare providers had to close their business during COVID, because again, a lot of the children were removed from school, the parents had to stay at home. So their business went from having 12 children to having 4 children. So this, unfortunately, during these times is a typical case for some of our childcare providers, right? That being said, what we've been doing during this time is help them access some of the grants and COVID-19 funding that is available to them. In the case of Bibi, we help her apply for a childcare grant that was provided by the County of San Diego for childcare providers. And again, this is directly through CARES funding, so that she was able to utilize that to, again, cover some of the loss of income. We are also helping her apply for PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, that is, again, funded through the CARES Act. So we're able to directly work with these clients who have been impacted in order to, in a way, access some of these resources and hopefully continue to sustain their business. Sorry, we can go to the next one. So here we have a few of our other clients that are well loved by we and have participated in a number of events with us. So we have Lamia Napki on the left. She's actually from a refugee, also from Syria. She came with her family a few years ago. So Lamia is still learning how to be fluent in English, as all of us immigrants and refugees here. It takes some time, but she's very interested in having her own business. And back in Syria, she was already doing some tailoring. So actually, when she first moved here, she accessed our childcare program, and she started doing childcare. Again, because of COVID, she was impacted. She already had a good amount of children, about 6, if I'm not mistaken, and she had to close her center basically during COVID. And she was also concerned of course, getting COVID herself and exposure. So she contacted us to see what else could she do in the meantime. So we were fortunate that at the time we were also working with a WE member, Pauline, who was also helping our clients by providing access to some of sewing machines, and also to helping them connect with people who needed masks. So Lamia indicated that she's been doing this at home in Syria. She knows how to sew, so we were able to provide her with a sewing machine and to help her get a license as a tailor. So she started doing masks among a number of clients within the We Start program. And together, they were actually able to provide masks to different centers, such as the Family Health Center, such as PCI, and even the IRC, and also participate in a number of events. And again, we was also a big contributor to making these connections. So overall, they were together sell about 10,000 masks in the community. So again, a way for them to be able to pivot their business from childcare to being able to make some income, to earn some income through making masks for the community. We also were able to host some events. For example, in City Heights, we did a safety in style event where those clients who were tailors, who were making masks, were able to sell the masks, but also partnering organizations were able to purchase the masks and offer those to the to the community in City Heights at a discounted price, and some of them were also free for clients. So these are some of the ways that we were able to pivot and try to adjust our services in order to be able to be responsive and still offer opportunities for our clients to, earn an income. So here we have Fatima. So this is a longtime client of we and the IRC. So Fatima is from Sudan, and she found that in the US she wasn't able to find some of the herb products that she used to find in Sudan, right? She was also an avid gardener from our community gardens. So she started growing some of the herbs and plants that she would traditionally use in Sudan to make her products. Fatima is a big entrepreneur and from back at home. And the first moment she came to us, she knew that she wanted to start her own business. She just didn't know how to go about. So we provided business counseling for her to start, again, to develop a brand, for her to get all the permits in order for her to handmade this shampoo and oil with the products that she had from her garden. And we even help her patent her product. So now she has a shampoo product line that she sells online. She started selling on Amazon as well. And she also does a bit of import and export, and she brings some products from back home, again, that are not available to the community here. She's a resilient woman. That being said, of course, her business has been severely impacted by COVID. Sales have gone down. She's no longer able to sell at the farmers markets like she used to. And she also unfortunately had a personal loss last year. So we still try to continue to support her by, again, making sure that she's on our directory and offering opportunities whenever she can, and help her access some of the COVID-19 funding as well. You can go to the next slide. And so this picture brings a smile to my face every time I see it, because this is how we transition from, again, providing classes in person, working with clients, to providing this via Zoom. So what you're seeing here is actually a graduation for one of our childcare cohorts. And you see some of our providers holding their certificates, and as well as some of our staff, like Abdul is there, Nita, for the childcare graduation. So again, initially, this was a big concern. We provide in-language services, we provide in-person services. So during COVID, we had to quickly adjust and adapt to providing this remotely. So you can imagine having an interpreter on Zoom and then teaching everybody how to access Zoom. So I know that my staff, Abdul, will say that initially he would have to be calling clients on the phone to tell them how to access the computer, how to get to Zoom. For them to be able to access the services and resources that, again, there's so much needed. That being said, we were able to overcome the initial barriers, and clients have been able to successfully continue to attend these trainings. We also developed a Facebook group for childcare providers. So now we have over 200 providers that access that group, where we, again, try to still generate that sense of community that we used to be able to do in person. So providers can network and talk to each other, and also where we share resources, again, such as the COVID-19 funding, so they can access those. For example, vaccines. Right now, childcare providers are able to get vaccinated. So for us to be able to notify them of these different changes in regulations, opportunities, so that they can access that there. And again, this is one of the mask events that I had shared with our clients. We're making masks for the communities. So here it is in the community of City Heights. You have Irene, who's also a business advisor, and we have also a representative for the El Cajon Boulevard Business Association. So yeah, you can definitely read more about that event. But again, we were fortunate to come with clients who quickly adjusted, started making masks, and not just selling them, but also offering them to the community for free.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adriana. Mitch, I don't know if there was anything you wanted to add there. I'm certain that there will be many questions for both of you. So depending on whether you want to add anything now, we can move to Q&A. What do you think?
Yeah, happy to move to Q&A now.
Okay. All right, let's see. So folks, again, if you have a question you'd like to ask, either throw it in the chat there or just indicate your hand raise there, and I'll call on you and you can pose your question directly. So it looks like we have a question here from Debbie.
Thank you guys so much. I love hearing the client stories. They're just wonderful to see their resilience and your guys' perseverance. The question I have has to do with looking to the future. You've made so many changes to adapt and adjust during COVID. What do you think is going to change in the future based on what you had to do to deal with this past year?
Thank you, Debbie. That is an excellent question, and I'm not sure if I have a concrete answer for what we expect, but I can tell you this. I mean, definitely we're seeing a lot of women coming to us who are trying to find different ways of starting a business, because as we know, women have been impacted the most, right? A lot of women had to leave their employment in order to be home with their children. So we are seeing a lot of women who are interested again in starting a home-based business and trying to supplement some of their loss of income. So for example, Irene, who is in this picture here, she is planning to do a food cohort for Swahili-speaking clients who again wanna start a home-based food business. So being able to work from home and to being able to again provide to their families in that way. So I do think that we're gonna continue to see a spike in the demand for our services, again, because people are trying to find different means, different ways. Childcare, right now, as you know, many childcare centers closed. So fortunately, some of the ones that we continue to provide services have been able to remain open or at least have access to some of the emergency funding. So again, that's one of the industries that I do see that we're gonna have to increase probably the services that we provide. I feel that at a national level, people have realized the importance of childcare, right? And how people can now go back to work without having childcare. So hopefully we're seeing more of an interest in order, I mean, to be able to support childcare providers at a national level so that it's a sustainable business for them. So those are some of the first things that come to mind that I think we're gonna continue to see a high demand for that. And Mitch, if you'd like to add anything to that.
Sure. I think the other big area that we will continue to grow and focus on is development of digital literacy skills, even on the foundational side, just so our clients can access remote training should they need to, but also in terms of helping them develop a digital presence for their business. That's also been a really high demand request from a lot of our clients. So that's something we would focus on moving forward, regardless of the pandemic.
Thank you. One of the things, we did receive a question in advance that I wanted to pose to both of you that relates to so many of the kind of negative knock-on effects that women are seeing in addition to the economic impacts of loss of income, loss of businesses, and that is a real spike in violence against women. And I wondered if, I do know that you've experienced that, and I wondered if you could just address a little bit how the IRC has tried to respond to that spike and what you've seen there.
Yes, Paige, that is accurate. Women, of course, have been impacted most, and this has created added stresses in the household and increase in domestic violence. And this is something that we've definitely have, in a way, tried to modify our programming so that we are providing clients with a safe environment as well. So one of the ways that we do this is, for example, the Facebook group where we're trying to generate a community. So that's only for women clients. So being able to engage with them in that way. And we've also added a component to our training where we bring in our social workers from our safety and wellness department for them to provide a class on or workshop on safety relationships, on coping mechanisms, on flags and some of how to identify, at-risk behavior, so that we establish that initial connection with our social workers from the safety and wellness departments, so that, again, if something comes up, it's easier for us to make a referral, to work with the social workers team so that they can address the situation. Of course, this is all confidential. So we would refer a client for them to work with our partners within the IRC from the Safety and Wellness Department so that they can continue to provide that added support.
Fantastic. I know that one of the many things that we and all the women on the phone here with us today so values in this partnership is that women's empowerment is focused on the economic empowerment piece of the work, but that through the IRC, you all have these comprehensive wraparound services to fill the multitude of needs that women have. So combined, it really makes for obviously a very powerful program for the women. And another question that we have is about the clientele that you're serving now. We know historically it's been a large population of refugee and immigrant women, as well as otherwise underserved low-income women in the community. Do you have a sense of how many of your clients are those local low-income women at this point in time?
I would say we continue to serve, like you said, a majority of refugee and immigrant clients. So that continues to be the core. At the same time, we're seeing more and more low-income women to come through our doors, right? And again, because of the impact of COVID, because of where we are in City Heights and El Cajon, I don't have necessarily an exact number. I can tell you that for this year, for example, at least, in addition to our refugee clients, I would say at least 70 women are categorized for the year as low income for that. And that, again, low income, and it could be a mix of immigrant women as well who categorize as low income, right?
Thank you. Looks like we have another question from Debbie.
That last question made me think of something else. We, with the new administration in Washington, we know that there's going to be some changes in policy for asylees and refugee seekers. Do you guys yet have any information or concrete information about how that might start affecting you?
I'm going to pass this one to Mitch.
The great question, Debbie. So we don't have a specific timeline. The previous administration really dismantled a lot of the infrastructure that allowed for refugees to be processed, especially overseas. So we had planned initially for an uptick in April of at least our refugee and SIV arrivals, but that has been on pause just because of the barriers that some of these countries are facing. But we do anticipate an uptick in arrivals from Central Africa and Southeast Asia sometime during this fiscal year, as well as Afghan SIVs. In terms of our asylum seekers, I think that you're still going to see a steady flow coming through. Obviously, the unaccompanied minors too. There's a huge surge coming in right there. I don't see that directly having an impact on the We Star program, just because of the legal and right to work barriers that a lot of our asylum seekers face when they first get here, until they're approved or until they've gone through the process enough to get an employment authorization card. With that said, Adriana and her team are constantly looking at ways that we can leverage California's immigration-friendly policies, such as businesses just using an I-10 to open, while also being mindful of how there could be implications on immigration status. So there's a lot of moving parts, but we're always looking for new ways to serve all of our immigrant and clients that could benefit from these services.
One of the things that we have seen across our partnerships, and certainly through our work with you, is that often because of the challenges that women face, entrepreneurship becomes an avenue for them really by default or by necessity. It becomes a viable path. And I wonder if it's possible to identify the kind of one or two most common barriers that you see among the population of women that you serve, knowing that they're coming from different places and have different experiences.
I mean, I'll just say the three most common barriers, and this is just across economic development, is language / lack of formal education, childcare, and transportation. Those typically kind of transcend country of origin and are very common. With that said, IRC continues to be proactive in trying to support those childcare. You know, we obviously have the businesses there to support women and connect them to welfare to work providers and subsidized childcare. We're also initiating a new program called Driving Equity that we're actually able to purchase a really high quality simulator and have funds to support driver's training, and are doing a robust 10-week curriculum to help women earn their driver's license, get behind the wheel training, and so they're able to get jobs or start businesses. And then for language, obviously, we have a number of different contextualized ESL programs and things like that to bring them up. And certainly that's something that we've done a little bit more in our childcare program, is enhanced our ESL component, which was traditionally 6 hours, to a more robust 3-week training to really help them at least get those key vocabulary and safety terms that they need to, so they can better navigate these systems.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're anxious to have any additional questions from all of you, so please pose 1 or 2 more if you have them. And while we're waiting for that, one of the things that another thing we've been so impressed with through your work is the way that you have added these kind of social emotional wellness programming for the women. And I personally remember attending a childcare graduation, and one of your colleagues talking about how even though the women had graduated and had their diplomas and were ready to launch their childcare businesses, their main question was, how can we keep meeting? We want to find a way to still come together. And that is also something that we see across our partnerships, the way women benefit by that group work and that solidarity that they get. And so I just wondered if you might talk a little bit about that social emotional wellness programming that you guys offer.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's also been really great to, again, be able to expand the team and have such a big group of women who are also business advisors, who speak the language, who come from the communities we serve, to be able to make those connections also with our clients. So as you mentioned, Paige, one of the ways we've been doing this is to try to establish, we were doing this prior COVID, more of a network for childcare providers. Irene, again, who's on the picture, she was leading some of that for the Swahili clients, to be able to meet once monthly, Swahili speaking clients, so that they can continue to network and offer support to each other. This has definitely been impacted by COVID. We, as I mentioned earlier, we tried to replicate some of this networking and support by having the Facebook group, by creating WhatsApp groups. For example, a lot of our clients like to use WhatsApp, so that's another way we do it. And then we stopped for a little bit, but now we're going back to providing what we call our business women in action. So again, Kelly, who's also on the call, and Irene have run this before. So it's training over about 6 to 8 sessions, where we provide support on how to start your business and some of the hard skills from like business planning, marketing, accounting. But we also incorporate, again, more of the additional supports in partnership with our safety and wellness department. So again, such as coping, addressing stress, life work balance, and again, identifying some of the risk and factors that may come in when you change some of the dynamics in the home. So that's called our Business Women in Action program that we offer in partnership with our safety and wellness department.
Great. We have one more question, probably the last that we'll have time to get to, because we want to respect our 45 minutes together. But that is just to talk a little bit about how much do the women share with you the challenges of dealing with online school and or training, you know, both for themselves, but also for their children, because this is obviously something we're hearing about across the board.
Yes, definitely. I don't think I've heard any woman say they're happy with the online. I've been able to become a teacher from one day to another. So definitely that is very present. And even for our staff, again, right? For those who have children and they're providing business advice and having to manage that. So it is an added stress. Childcare providers, they, again, not just having to take care of the children, but they have 8 or children at the home, and all of a sudden having to become experts in accessing Zoom and accessing classes online where themselves were learning how to access these technologies, right? So it's been a steep learning curve, I would say. And that's why, as Mitch mentioned earlier, we are definitely adding that component. We've added more of, again, more in our trainings about digital literacy and providing that support for our clients to be able to, again, access resources themselves, but also for childcare providers to be able to support others within their care. And one of the programs that our advisors are getting trained of is also on early childhood development. So they're accessing more training on that so that they can also incorporate this into our upcoming cohorts and be able to provide additional support, because now this is become our reality, obviously. Mm-hmm.
And Mary is asking a bit about the kind of emergency funding, including COVID relief, that you have received, and beyond what you've received, what you might expect to receive in the future, possibly through the recent legislation.
So for us, what we do is we help clients access that COVID-19 funding, right? So as I mentioned, there are two specific programs like the Payroll Protection Plan and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan that were made available to those affected by COVID. So those are some of the loans that we've been helping our clients access. There's also been a couple of grants, a number of grants. The state of California launched the California Business Relief Grant, where I believe over 500,000 businesses applied, so very competitive. So we help over 100 businesses apply for that grant. There was also a grant from San Diego County that was done in partnership with San Diego Foundation for the childcare grant specifically. So that was extremely beneficial for our childcare providers because, again, it was more accessible, it was in language. We were able to create a number of videos on how to apply for that grant in Arabic, Swahili, and Farsi so that clients could access it. And we were very happy to see that the highest number after English of those who had applied to that grant was Arabic. So again, really showing how this in-language training and again, videos on how to and technical assistance do open the doors for these clients to be able to access that funding. And probably without that, they wouldn't have been able to access. So those are kind of what we're already seeing. And yeah, we're now doing another round of PPP and just waiting to see what else comes down the pipeline. Yeah.
Excellent. And I know that our Women's Empowerment Board was happy to have the opportunity last year to give our funding somewhat flexibly for all of you. And I believe a small portion of what we provide last year went towards some direct assistance grants for women entrepreneurs. So
absolutely,
thank you to all of you for making that possible. Folks, we're up against our 45-minute timeline here, and I've had a couple of questions offline about how you all can make a difference, which you do regularly and consistently. And Mitch in our chat had put a link to the IRC's business directory, which gives a list of different entrepreneurs that are providing services, mass. I think it also includes restaurants and retailers that are clients of the IRC. So that gives us a resource, a place to go if we want to make a direct difference by patronizing those businesses and utilizing their services. And hopefully soon we'll be back to a time when we can come back as a group to the IRC and meet with clients and meet with the women at the markets and in their places of business to support them. And of course, last but not least, we never want to let you all go without thanking you so much for the difference you make by supporting women's empowerment. And I just want to leave you with an idea that we've been thinking about as an organization and our board in particular, which is this, what we're kind of thinking of as the multiplier effect, where when you economically empower one woman to lift herself out of poverty, she brings 4 people at least along with her. So we think a lot about why we invest in women, and it really goes beyond because we care about women. It's really the best way to create the kind of broader based change that you all care about and that we are so invested in. So we just want you to know that for every dollar that you invest in the life of a woman, she is reinvesting those dollars in the lives of her kids and certainly her husband and her broader community. So we can't thank you enough for doing that. And we invite you to continue supporting that work, like the We Star program and all of our programs at Women's Empowerment, by continuing to make a donation. You all have been with us for a long time, and you know that donations of any amount make a difference for us. So thank you for considering that as soon as you can, at any time. It's always incredibly welcome. So thank you so much for being with us, Adriana and Mitch, Jane, for your work, and all of you for the loyal support and the care for this program and all of our programs. We hope you have a fabulous rest of your day and carry the inspiring stories of these women with you for the rest of the day. And I always feel like if they can do it, I can do it. So we keep going. Thank you. Thank you. And
Thank you so much.
we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. And thank you again
Thank you,
for all your
everyone.
support.
Bye.